Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Whether you're actively hunting for your dream house right now, or maybe thinking about putting a for sale sign in your own front yard.
Or just intensely curious about the drama in your neighborhood.
Yes, exactly. Honestly, if you're just insanely curious about the absolute property drama unfolding down the street, you are in exactly the right place. Today's topic is an absolute must-listen. We're taking a hard look at the landscape of real estate, specifically zeroing in on decoding the hyper-competitive spring 2026 market.
It's a truly fascinating moment in time for real estate. We're seeing market dynamics play out right now that are, well, they're catching a lot of people entirely off guard, mostly because the rules of engagement seem to have shifted overnight.
Yeah, overnight. And to figure out exactly what is happening, we've got two incredible sources sitting on the desk today.
Two very different sources, too.
Right. First, we have a highly localized, completely raw data dump. This was pulled on March 6, 2026, and it covers specific school districts across Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and Newcastle counties.
Yeah. We are talking real boots-on-the-ground numbers here.
Exactly. And second, we have a strategic market analysis document from the SIR team. Think of this document as a tactical playbook for navigating this exact moment in time.
And when you put these two sources side by side, the raw mathematical data and that strategic psychological analysis, a very clear, completely undeniable picture emerges.
Which is what?
Winter 2025 to 2026 created a massive bottleneck. It built up a staggering amount of pent-up demand. I mean, buyers were sitting on the sidelines just waiting and watching. And now
the bottleneck breaks.
The bottleneck has broken. We are looking at a compressed window, likely just a 60 to 90-day hot streak of explosive high-velocity market activity, and it's opening right now.
A 2 to 3 month sprint. That is incredibly fast. We really need to set the stakes for you right from the top. Within this brief, chaotic window, prepared buyers and correctly priced sellers are going to win big. Everyone else.
They are going to completely miss out.
Completely. So let's unpack how you can make sure you're in that winning group.
To do that, we have to look at the trigger. We really have to understand why this sudden flood of activity is happening right now rather than, say, last fall or next winter.
Well, the playbook addresses something that feels like the elephant in the room, right? This idea of the 2021 benchmark.
Yeah, the 2021 benchmark.
For years, it feels like everyone, buyers, sellers, even casual observers, everyone has been holding their breath, waiting for interest rates to plummet back down to those historic, almost unimaginable lows we saw a few years ago.
Which is a fallacy.
Right. People have been treating that anomaly as if it's the standard we were somehow supposed to return to.
And that expectation has been paralyzing the market. But the strategy guide highlights a crucial psychological shift that has finally occurred this spring. Rates have not dropped back to those record lows, but they have done something arguably more important for market movement.
They stabilized.
They have stabilized. From a market psychology standpoint, predictability unlocks decisions. Buyers can actually accept a higher interest rate if they know it's stable. It is the wild volatility, the fear that a rate might jump another 2% next month that keeps them frozen on the sidelines. Once they feel the ground beneath their feet isn't constantly shifting, they can finally budget, they can plan, and they can move.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is where the math really meets human behavior. You have 6 months of sidelined buyers who have been waiting all winter. They've been watching the rates, hoping for a miracle drop. But now spring arrives. The rates are stable. Are you saying they all just suddenly settle for the current reality?
It's less about settling and more about a collective realization. They realize the catastrophic swings are over. What happens is that every single one of those sideline buyers decides at roughly the exact same time that they can live with the current rates.
Wow.
It creates a complete avalanche effect. It is not a slow trickle of buyers re-entering the market. It is a floodgate opening.
That paints a pretty intense picture for anyone who's still on the fence.
It really does. I actually want to pose a direct question to you, the listener, right now based on this playbook. If you are a buyer and you are still waiting for rates to drop further, what is your actual plan?
Good question.
Have you considered that the rate you are waiting for might arrive long after the house you really wanted is gone? You can always refinance a rate later down the line, but you cannot go back in time and buy the house that someone else already owns.
That is a harsh reality check, but so necessary. You buy the house, you just rent the rate.
Exactly.
But I want to move from the theory to the actual proof. Because people could talk about pent-up demand and avalanches all day, but let's look at the receipts. I'm looking at this massive CSV data dump we have from March 6th, and there is a column here labeled absorption rates.
Yeah.
Before we get into the specific towns, can we just decode that term? What exactly are we measuring there?
That is the perfect place to start. In plain terms, the absorption rate tells us how fast homes are selling in a specific market. The metric we usually look at within that is months of inventory. Imagine if every single seller suddenly stopped listing their houses today. No new homes hit the market. Months of inventory tells us how long it would take for all the currently available homes to be completely bought up by the current pool of buyers.
So a lower number means a faster, hotter market.
Precisely.
Let's look at some of these micro-inventory zones in the data. I'm seeing Springfield sitting at 0.40 months of inventory.
Yep.
That is less than half a month. So if nothing new gets listed, Springfield is literally out of houses to sell in about 12 days.
It's incredible.
And Haverford Township isn't much better, sitting at just 0.91. That is a market that looks utterly starved for supply.
When supply is that microscopic and that avalanche of predictable rate buyers hits, you get aggressive bidding wars. The data shows this happening in real time. Buyers are fighting tooth and nail for whatever's available.
Yeah, I was looking through this spreadsheet, and Oxford really stood out to me as a weird outlier.
Oxford, yeah.
It looks like they actually have a decent amount of inventory compared to other places, over 3 months, 3.23 to be exact. But then I look a few columns over, and there's a metric showing homes are selling for nearly 105% of the asking price. Why is a place with more inventory still seeing buyers bid so far over the asking price?
That is a fascinating anomaly, and it reveals a hidden layer of buyer behavior. That metric you noticed is the list-to-sold ratio. A ratio of 1.0 means a house sold for exactly what the seller asked.
Right.
A ratio of 1.048, which we see in Oxford, means buyers are routinely paying nearly 5% over the asking price.
Even with over 3 months of inventory.
Even with over 3 months of inventory, because buyers are engaging in massive bidding wars over the prime move-in ready properties. The highly desirable homes get fought over, instantly driving up that average. Meanwhile, the overpriced or distressed homes just sit there, making the overall inventory look higher than it functionally is for a competitive buyer.
That makes total sense. It's a flight to quality. And then looking at Tredyffrin-Easttown, it shows homes are flying off the market in just 22 days, also closing at over 101% of the list price.
It's fast.
But the volume in some of these other areas is what really catches my eye.
If we look at Clay Consolidated, the sheer volume of movement is breathtaking. They have a monthly rate of over 105 closed properties, and the median closed days on market, just 11 days.
11 days.
11 days from the moment a house hits the MLS, the multiple listing service, which is basically the main database every real estate agent uses, to being completely closed out.
Wait 11 days to be completely closed. The actual time spent reviewing offers and going under contract must be happening in a single weekend.
Almost certainly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the timeline from a house being listed to being officially sold is practically evaporating.
Hearing those numbers, homes closing in 11 days, routinely selling for over asking. If I'm a seller listening to this right now, my eyes are turning into dollar signs.
Of course.
I'm thinking the market is on fire, so I can ask for absolutely any price I want and someone will just pay it.
Which leads us right into the biggest mistake a seller can make right now. The playbook calls this the greed illusion. You see your neighbor, let's call him Overpriced Pete.
Overpriced Pete. I love it.
Pete sees a house down the street sell in a weekend, so Pete lists his own place, which maybe hasn't been updated since 2012, for 50 grand more than his neighbor's. He assumes a hot market means buyers are desperate and will throw money at anything.
But the strategy document suggests that's actually a massive trap.
It is the most dangerous assumption a seller can make. A hot market actually makes overpricing more dangerous, not less.
Really?
Yes. There is a flood of buyers. But remember what those buyers have been doing all winter. They have been sitting inside, staring at real estate apps on their phones every single night.
That's true.
They are the most educated, comparison-savvy buyer pool you will ever encounter. They know exactly what is in the zone of fair market value, and they know what a home is actually worth down to the dollar.
They've been doing their homework for 6 months, and now they are ready to grade your listing. There's a standout quote from the source document that I think every single prospective seller needs to write on a Post-it note and stick to their bathroom mirror.
Let's hear it.
It says, a correctly priced home in a spring market sells. An overpriced home in a spring market just rents space on the MLS.
Rent space on the MLS. It is a brilliant way to describe the penalty of overpricing. because pent-up demand has a very short memory. That massive wave of eager buyers we talked about, they hit the market, they evaluate Pete's overpriced home, they instantly recognize it's too high, they reject it, and they move on to the correctly priced house down the street.
And once they move on, they don't come back.
Never. If your listing doesn't convert in that first massive wave of energy, it does not get a second chance. You completely miss this tight time frame. While you are stubbornly holding out for a price that the savvy buyers already rejected, that brief window of explicit activity is closing.
So by the time June rolls around, you're sitting on a stale listing. Your property has high days on market numbers attached to it. And what goes through a buyer's mind when they see a house sitting on the market for 45 days in the middle of a historic buying frenzy?
Exactly.
They aren't thinking, oh, maybe the price is a little high. They're thinking, what is structurally wrong with this house? Is the foundation cracking? Is there black mold?
You become the cautionary tale of the neighborhood. The seller's strategy right now has to be pinpoint accuracy. You price to the zone on day one, or you suffer the consequences of being left behind. But sellers aren't the only ones walking into traps.
Here's where it gets really interesting because we need to pivot to the buyers. The trap for buyers is something the playbook calls the illusion of caution. In a normal world, taking your time sleeping on a major financial decision that is just good sense. But in this compressed spring sprint, caution can actually kill your chances.
The document lays it out very clearly. Pre-approval is no longer a strategic advantage. It is not something that makes your offer stand out to a seller anymore.
But wait, isn't that standard? Doesn't everyone get pre-approved before house hunting?
In a normal market, a lot of people start casually looking, find a house they like, and then rush to get pre-approved. In this specific window, pre-approval is the bare minimum required to even play the game. It is the cover charge to get in the door. If you are walking into an open house without a rock-solid pre-approval in hand, you are essentially just a spectator touring someone else's future home.
Because you were walking into a 48-hour pressure cooker. Think back to those median days on market numbers we saw in this ESV data. 11 days closed in red clay. You might have only 48 to 72 hours from the exact moment a house is listed to the hard offer deadline set by the seller.
Right.
The playbook says your powder must be dry. What does keeping your powder dry actually look like in practice?
It means having absolutely every single variable locked down before you ever step foot into the house. Your financing must be confirmed. Your down payment must be completely liquid and accessible in a bank account, not tied up in stocks you still need to sell. And perhaps most importantly, your decision criteria, your non-negotiables, your maximum budget limits must be completely agreed upon with your partner in advance.
That partner dynamic is so critical. There is nothing worse than standing in a beautifully staged kitchen on a Saturday afternoon realizing you have maybe 20 minutes to make the biggest financial decision of your life, and you and your spouse haven't actually agreed on a maximum budget. Emotion and urgency are a dangerous combination.
To really drive this home, the SIR Team Playbook provides these incredible Columbo-style questions. They are designed to catch your blind spots before they turn into extremely costly mistakes.
I love these.
Let's volley a few of these directly at you, the listener, right now. Really think about your answers. Ready? First scenario. What happens when you find the right house on a Thursday and your lender needs until Monday to finalize your paperwork?
Oh, I know the answer to this one based on the data.
Yeah.
You lose the house. It's gone by Sunday night.
Gone. Here is another one. If you need one more weekend to think about it, what are you assuming about everyone else who saw it on Friday?
Are you assuming they are all going to politely wait for you to make up your mind?
Exactly.
They aren't waiting. They are writing offers in the driveway while you are driving home to think about it. This all leads to the ultimate hard truth for buyers operating in this specific spring 2026 window.
In a spring market, hesitation isn't caution. It's a forfeit.
Wow, it's a forfeit.
If you wait to schedule a showing until it's convenient, you miss it. If you wait to get your financing in order until you find a house you love, you miss it. The market is moving at a velocity that simply does not accommodate hesitation. It demands total, uncompromising preparation.
So what does this all mean? We have thrown a lot of intense hyperlocal data and psychological strategy your way today. Let's boil it down to the absolute core takeaways you need to walk away with. If you are a seller listening to this, your directive is clear. Price to the zone immediately.
Immediately.
Do not test the market with an inflated price. Do not let greed blind you to the fact that buyers are incredibly educated right now. A correctly priced home sells fast. An overpriced home just sits there, gets stale, and makes buyers suspicious. You have a brief window to capture this massive pent-up demand. Do not waste it renting space on the MLS.
And if you are a buyer, your mission is equally clear. Get your financing utterly bulletproof before you start touring. Your pre-approval is your entry ticket. Have your down payment liquid. Have the hard, uncomfortable conversations about budget and compromises with your partner tonight.
Tonight, not in the driveway of the open house.
Right, because when the right house hits the market in a district like Springfield or Haverford Township where inventory is virtually non-existent, you are going to have hours, not weeks, to make a winning move. If you wait to see it, you will miss it.
Preparation is everything. But before we wrap up, we always like to look just over the horizon. What comes after this avalanche?
This raises an important question, something really worth thinking about. We have spent this entire deep dive analyzing this explosive 60 to 90-day compressed window. We know exactly what is happening right now, but what happens on day 91? Think about it. When the dust finally settles, when the flood of pent-up winter buyers have all successfully bought their homes, and all the correctly priced inventory has been completely wiped off the map, what happens then?
Right. Where does the market go?
Does the summer market suddenly just freeze entirely, leaving those late overpriced sellers completely stranded on an island? Or do we enter some strange, quiet, unexpected buyer's market in July where the few remaining buyers suddenly find themselves with all the leverage? It is a fascinating scenario to consider as we watch the spring play out.
That is a brilliant point to chew on, the aftermath of the avalanche. I love it. Well, I hope this deep dive has given you a serious advantage, whether you are stepping into the arena to buy, preparing to list, or just keeping an eye on your local market. Take a hard, honest look at your own real estate readiness this week. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive, for getting into the numbers and the strategy with this. Have an amazing week. Keep your powder dry out there, and we will catch you next time.